Another all-time great Cowboy retired on Tuesday. We will break it down next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can follow him on Twitter at McCoolBCB. It's a sad but happy day in Cowboys Nation today because Tyron Smith, one of their all-time great offensive linemen, has officially retired. He's signing a one-day contract with the Cowboys, and then he is having a press conference on Wednesday. Later, this bums me out, but I'm also happy at the same time that Tyron is hanging up rather than hanging on for a couple more years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that both him and Zach kind of decided to go more of the route of, let's retire before it completely falls off the rails. I mean, I don't think that Tyron had a fantastic year last year, obviously, but I think it wasn't absolutely, it wasn't like we're watching a shell of the player. It's still, I mean, he still can get out there and get in front of a pass rusher. He can still get his hands on you and eliminate you in the pass rush situation. But I think this is a guy who has struggled to stay healthy for. I mean, we're talking about like struggling to stay healthy for a decade, right? It's been a situation where he's really had to work extra hard to get onto the field and stay on the field for a very long time. The fact that he's been able to maintain and play as long as he has with the kind of injuries that he's had at certain points in his career is incredibly impressive. I totally understand, the feeling of, hey, you know what? I just don't know that my body can do this anymore. He's got, a young family. I'm sure he wants to kind of spend some time with. So kudos to him. Obviously, one of my all-time favorite players. We'll get into all that, I'm sure, here in a bit. But just, I'm glad that he's doing it now before, it completely falls off the rails and you just witness a guy that is putting out tape that number 77 would hate to put out there if he had to watch it himself.
I think it's really cool that Zach Martin and Tyron are retiring in the same offseason. It does feel like the end of an era with, Travis Frederick and Zach Martin and Tyron Smith all retired. It feels very weird. As someone who kind of grew up watching those Cowboys, it's a major bummer. But you mentioned the injuries. Tyron had not played 14 or more games in a season since 2015. I mean, it's been a long time since he's been able to stay on the field. But, man, we're talking about somebody when he was at his peak, one of the most dominant left tackles we've ever seen from 2013 to 2019. He made the Pro Bowl every single season. Now, he only had 2 first-team All-Pro selections and 2 second-team All-Pro selections. But you and I were talking pre-show. It's just because he got into like a really good offensive tackle era where he was competing with Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, Joe Thomas. I mean, there's some really good tackles that played at the exact same time that he did. But when he was at his peak and when he was fully healthy, I don't think there was a lineman in the league that would have taken over him.
I think if you were to list out the 10 greatest tackles in history, right, in the history of the NFL, the 4 that we just mentioned, Tyron included, would probably all 4 be in that top 10 list, right? Like, we're talking about some of the greatest players who have ever played the position that all happen to be playing at the same time, kind of competing with each other for all pros. So certainly the all pro numbers don't show the greatness overall of Tyron Smith. And I think, you said it, like the fact that he was, basically guaranteed to not play more than 14 games for over a decade, and then continued to get elite contracts, continued to be selected to a Pro Bowl. I mean, that just shows you how valuable he was when he was on the field. He was one of the very best players. I mean, look, pass protection is one of the most important things you can do. And I don't know that his pass protection ever took a step down, a full step down from where it was even 10 years ago. His run blocking stuff as he got older, it just wasn't quite as effective. But I mean, this guy, even in his current age, is ready to step out there and protect a quarterback's backside. And that just is a testament to what an incredible athlete he is, what an incredible freak of nature he is in the best possible way. And then on top of that, who he is, right? Like, this is a guy who, we've heard the stories, right? Like, his family had him working overnight with the rest of them, cleaning schools, I think, is a janitorial service that his family owned. He's had this kind of hard working ethic since he was very, very young, and he kept that up throughout his career. I just hope that he's going to get an opportunity now at his advanced age of, I don't know, he's not even 38 years old.
He's 34.
34, right? Like, I just hope now at the age of, because he's 20 when he got drafted, right, guys? So yeah. I just hope at the age of 34, he finally is going to get a chance to take a breath and enjoy all that he's made for himself. He's created an incredible life. He's done an incredible job. And I just feel like he's a guy who I hope transitions into relaxing finally into retirement.
I think Tyron's like 6 months older than I am, and it feels strange that he had like a 13-year NFL career. I remember in college trying to study for that 2011 draft, and you couldn't find offensive line tape anywhere on YouTube or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But one of the highlights that they kept showing on the day of the draft was him jumping over to blockers on field goal or an extra point and blocking the kick, and it's like, holy, you got a 6'6", 330-pound guy and kick block unit, and he's jumping over guys. Just an absolute freak. And one of the things I'm going to remember really well about him is whenever he was healthy and right, you just didn't worry about the left side at all. And that was such a nice feeling to have. No matter who was that quarterback, that the left side is going to be taken care of. You don't have to worry about getting pressure there. And man, there's very few guys in NFL history that you just put on, one side of the field and don't worry about them at all.
I don't know that there'll ever be another offensive tackle that is as athletic as, let's say, 2014 Tyron Smith. Right?
Yeah.
There was a point when he was 6'6", 315, probably had like 10% body fat or something like that, had a full 8-pack. I mean, you're just not going to see athletes like that. Human beings are just not built like that, right? No. So, I mean, he was a crazy combination of just God-given talent. Man, the genes are so incredible. Look at you, like you're born with this incredibly long arms, incredibly, incredible musculature, just all of it. And then on top of that, what we talked about, he had all that. And then the thing that actually made him great was his work ethic, his mindset, his mentality. That's what kind of put him into the Hall of Fame world. You're going to be hard pressed to find another kind of package like Tyron Smith. He's just got it all, to be honest.
I think, was it DeMarcus Lawrence that was telling the story about how on one of the first days of training camp, he got punched so hard that it bruised his entire chest. It might've been Micah, actually, now that I think about it. Even Tyron older, like, he was just so strong. To have a guy that's that athletic and so strong is really unbelievable. And I'm excited for this press conference on Wednesday because this is going to be like the second time I've ever heard Tyron Smith talk, which is going to be fun.
I was going to say, we're going to surpass all the words we've ever heard throughout his career. I think in this press conference, Tyron's going to probably break his career record in words spoken just in this press conference. So I'm excited just to hear him speak a little bit more because, notoriously media shy, just a kind of a quiet, hardworking guy. I could not love the dude anymore. I'm so thrilled for him.
We need like a Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick podcast. Oh my gosh, it would do.
Oh my gosh, let's do
Locked on. Let's get it. Let's get it going. All right, so we'll continue to cover more Tyron news as it comes out over the next week. I'm sure we're going to get some fun tidbits from the press conference on Wednesday, but we also have some Cowboy news that we need to talk about regarding the NFL draft. Stephen Jones was on 105.3 The Fan talking about some potential trade scenarios. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. But that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending in one place so you can stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, now it's been at least a few months, I realized how much money I was spending on just useless, trivial things. But now I am budgeting smarter and saving more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Later, we got some quotes from Stephen Jones, who was on 105.3 The Fan this afternoon. And one of the things that was interesting, and it's not surprising, but he said, I don't necessarily see us moving up in the first round based on the way the board is coming together. But I could see a situation where we move down. Now, that's not all that different from what they generally believe. This is a team that does not trade up in the first round very often. The last time they did it was 2012, right? The Morris Claiborne draft. So it's been a minute.
Yeah.
What about trading down? I know that's what Stephen Jones and the Cowboys always say, but do you believe them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I've been pretty clear since the beginning that I feel like trading down is in most cases still the best scenario for the Cowboys in the first round, right? Like, getting even just a little bit back to try to get like, another top 100 pick or even just to replace that fourth round pick you lost. You're probably not going to lose a lot of value in the kind of player that you're taking, depending on how far back you trade. It just makes a ton of sense, right? And again, the strength of this draft is in the area of the draft in which you would be getting an extra pick, right? Like that kind of, let's say, 40 through 90 area is probably where you feel like you're getting the best value for your pick, right? So this is a starters draft, as a couple folks have referred to it, right? Like you may not have a ton of superstars at the top. There are a couple, right? And maybe a couple, develop out of the middle of this class. That's always, something that holds true. But for the most part, there are a lot of guys in this draft through the, second through even into the fifth round where you can get, a starter quality level player at a certain position. So I think for the Cowboys, they have a lot of the superstars, especially at the kind of money five positions, accounted for. And really what they need to do is fill in some high-end middle-class talent on this roster. I mean, we talked about it, like wide receiver 2, right? The running back. Like these are spots that are, maybe not the main focus of your offense, but those kind of secondary weapons, right? And this class is filled with guys that you can fill those spots with. So trading back a little bit to get another bite at the apple just makes a ton of sense because you're not going to lose a ton of value in your overall pick, no matter how far back you trade, though don't trade too far back. And I think that you're going to get a very strong quality player with that extra pick that you're going to be able to pick up.
Now, the hard part is finding the teams that are going to want to come up. So let's run through a couple really quickly. Starting, let's say the Colts at 14. I doubt the Colts would move up from 14 to 12, but maybe if they were targeting a certain defensive player or a tight end. Atlanta doesn't have any picks at 15 to really move up. Arizona, I don't see it. Cincinnati's got a lot of depth issues. But the team that I'm circling, Landon, that I think is the most likely trade candidate are the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Now I'm not exactly sure what player they would target, but listen to their picks. They have 18, 50, 52, 82, 92, 137, 172, 175, 223, and 224. So maybe you're not getting the value back. Maybe you don't get pick 50 or 52, but would you move back from 12 to 18 for pick 82, a mid third rounder?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that I've actually been looking at a lot, right? Is those kind of deals to, especially with, like you said, with Seattle specifically, just to see, what they potentially, what you could potentially get back from it. And I think one of the things you and I talked about yesterday too is that, maybe there's an opportunity to trade back that is not quite meeting the what you would expect on the trade chart, right? Like maybe you have to take a little bit of a loss to trade back a little bit. I would still be okay with that, right? Because again, I'm not trying to win the trade chart. I'm trying to get good players, and if again, I'm not losing quality on the type of player I'm able to pick by moving back 5 or 6 spots, I'm okay with doing that. So if Seattle wanted to come up for, I don't know, Shedeur Sanders, or let's say they want to replace Abraham Lucas at tackle, and one of the tackles fall. Okay, like I think that there's an opportunity for them to come up and maybe not pay as much as they normally would, because there's not a ton of teams that are trading up at this point, right? The Cowboys can take maybe a slight loss from the normal thing, but again, if you're still getting a top, round 3 or round 4 pick and not really losing any value on where you're picking, that's still a win to me. And then you go back, Seattle gets the player they're looking for, and now it also, I think, now that you're kind of back a little bit further too, it also opens up who you probably feel more comfortable taking, right? Like,
Sure.
You have said that you wouldn't feel this way, but I would feel more comfortable if they wanted to start talking about Omari Hampton at 18 versus 12, right? Like,
Sure.
I think it just opens up a different class of player that you feel like the value matches up a little bit more. And then again, you're getting the value of that player combined with the extra pick that you get in the trade back.
Now, I wanted to throw out some names or some teams that are further down on the board that could be of interest to the Cowboys. The Broncos at 20, they don't have a ton of picks, but Sean Payton is notorious for trading up in drafts, whether that's to get Chris Olave or Marcus Davenport when he was at the Saints. Would you go back to 20 to get like picks 20 and 51?
That's pretty far, right? See, I wouldn't be shocked if the Saints, like you said, or we're interested. They're really looking
Broncos.
for
Broncos.
I'm sorry, the Broncos. I'm thinking Peyton. I wouldn't be surprised if they, Peyton's talked about wanting to come up and get a Joker type player, right? So maybe what he comes up to try to get, maybe he wants to get Hampton, right? Or maybe he wants to go get like someone like Golden or Warren or Loveland.
Warren's the one to me. Like, I wonder if Warren could be that Joker. Like, hey, we can move him all around. We can play him with Evan Ingram, right? Because they're two different types of tight ends. Or let me give you a different scenario. What if Ashton Genty is there at 12?
Yeah.
And they just, hey, this is too good of a running back. Let's pair him and Bo Nix together for the next 4 years on cheap contracts.
Yeah. And so it certainly isn't outside the realm of possibility, right? It's pretty far back to go, right? To 20. But you're also getting a pick 51 that I think is, man, that may be the best spot to pick a running back in this whole draft, like right around 50, right? So I do think that I probably would do that deal, but I may ask for a sweetener too, just to see if they, if they're willing, how willing they would be to do it. If they're trading up for a running back, they may not be willing to do it. But
one more, I'm just going to throw this out there. The Buffalo Bills at pick 30. Now you're going from 12 to 30 is a big reach and usually a big fallback. And usually teams don't go up that far unless they're getting a quarterback. However, I want to read you the picks that Buffalo has: 30, 56, 62, 109, 132, 169, 170, 173, 177, 206. They do not have that many spots in the roster to fill with all those picks, right? Where I think Buffalo what they could use is some top end talent. Now, what position is that? Could they go up and get a Will Johnson if they wanted to get another outside corner? Maybe I know that's a reach. Maybe they're coming up and trying to get somebody like, what if Armand Membu is there? They feel like they want to add him to their offensive line, or they want to add Mason Graham, who falls to 12 to pair with Ed Oliver. Would you consider a move back from 12 to 30 if you're getting like multiple second round picks?
I mean, I'm really holding them up for that, right? Because they can afford it at that point. So, I mean, if we're going all the way back to 30, like I'm gonna need multiple second round picks. And again, I may ask for more too, just because I know they can afford it. And like it's a long way to go.
So from just to do the math really quickly, the Cowboys pick at 12 is worth 1,200 points, right? Buffalo's first rounder is worth 620. Their first second rounder is worth 340, and their second,
so it's probably close.
Yeah, their second rounder is worth 284. That comes right out to 1,244.
I'd still ask him for a little bit more, but yes, I think at the end of the day, I'd probably still take it. I mean, I understand that's where the value goes, but man, that's a lot. But yeah,
well, just imagine in this draft what the Cowboys would do if they had picks 30, 44, what would it be 30, 44,
51, right?
56, 62, and then you would also have pick 77. So you'd have 5 picks in the top 77.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just talked about how I'd be willing to take a little bit of a bath. And this is not even a bath. This is you're winning the trade. But going that far back is scary. I'd do it though. I would do it.
Because I think at that point you'd have so many picks that it would open up the possibilities of like, hey, let's take Walter Nolan here. We didn't love him at 12, but at 30, hey, whatever, we can take him there. Or Trey Amos, we want this corner here. Or maybe that's where Omarion Hampton gets drafted, or that's where Emeka Ibuke gets drafted. That's a lot of fun. I don't know how realistic it is, though.
Yeah, I mean, that would be wild. I would probably do it, but fun. Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit of a pipe dream.
All right. Let's talk about a big-time cornerback or safety, depending on who you are, that could be available, or who is available via trade that the Cowboys might be showing interest in. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Listen, I love the NBA playoffs and I love FanDuel. I love how easy they make betting, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine your live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft Show with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. Now that the season is over, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day, and find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Landon, Chris Greer of the Dolphins, the GM there, has announced today that the Dolphins will be moving on from Jalen Ramsey. They paid him a $4 million roster bonus just a couple weeks ago. Believe yes, bad business. They said they have $19 million as his cap hit for this year. That's what the Cowboys would be on the hook for. We know the Cowboys need corners. Is Jalen Ramsey somebody that you would be interested in trading for?
I'm sorry. Did you say what the cap hit would be again?
$19 million.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it's a lot. That's a lot of money for a guy that is not quite, hasn't been quite the same player that he had been previously. Still a good player. Not saying he's a bad player. And he's probably worth something close to that $19 million.
Mm-hmm.
What's the trade compensation going to be? That's obviously the first thing that comes to mind. And then on top of that, I don't know, dude. This is a guy who has been a malcontent. I mean, everywhere he's gone, and has forced his way out of every place he's gone to.
I do want to
wait until he got that $4 million bonus and then started complaining about wanting to leave. So
according to Chris Greer, this is just coming out. He said that Jalen Ramsey did not ask to be traded, but they felt like this was in the best interest of both parties. I don't know if that makes sense.
He may not have asked to be traded the way that his teammate has been asking to be traded with peace signs every single Instagram post, but he's been talking about rumbling about this kind of in his Instagram, even if it hasn't been a public asking for a trade this time. I don't know. Like, I'd have to see what the trade compensation is.
I would bet it's almost nothing significant.
I mean, it has to be, right? They're trying to get rid of the salaries ultimately.
So that's what I mean by that. Like, maybe it's a 4th round pick or a day 3 pick, like nothing where you're going to be like, ooh, that you gave up a lot.
It's to be clear, that's what I'm looking for, right? Like, I'm not afraid to give away a day 3 pick for Jalen Ramsey, but like, that's like, it better be that, not like a 3rd round or a 2nd round pick. You know what I'm saying?
No.
That I'm not interested in doing that and paying Jalen Ramsey $20 million. Like, I don't think he's that player anymore. Yeah. But if we're talking about, hey, we throw him a 5th that could be a 4th, that and then we get him and we're getting him basically taking the whole salary, right? I would assume, for that kind of trade compensation. I mean, I think that's probably worth it. He's pouring I mean, it's tough because, again, like, he is kind of can be an issue at the locker room at times, but I think you have a strong enough group of guys that can kind of handle that situation, I would hope. And then, I mean, Micah specifically, I think, you're hoping is going to be a stronger voice there. But that's the other issue, is that Jalen comes in with a little bit more experience. You worry about a young leader being able to kind of grab hold of that with Jalen Ramsey coming in. So there's that aspect of it. On the other hand, I do really like the fit aspect of this.
I know,
right? Like, because it makes sense. Like, you bring him in, he can play early while you're dealing with Diggs, and kind of slow roll Diggs back into the lineup, and then once you have Diggs back, I think it's probably pretty easy just to reduce Ramsey down into the slot and have him play there. And now you've got a really great quarterback trio. And I love Jalen Ramsey as cornerback 3, like, I mean, man, that's killer. Now we're talking. So I think there's some pros and cons to it. I probably would kick the tires on what the locker room would feel about it. But if the locker room was good with it, if Micah Parsons is good with it, if Dak is good with it, yeah, I think it's a good way to kind of fill a need with a cheap, cheap on the cheap as far as draft pick goes. The question is, can you afford it with everything else that you're trying to balance on I mean, you can afford it. Can you Dallas afford it, with everything else that you're trying to do? I think it's worth the trade pick, though.
Couple things really quickly. I don't think the Cowboys will do this because they already have so much money tied up into Trayvon Diggs. We know they would like to get Deron Bland signed to a contract. It's just a lot of money to invest in the cornerback spot, which is different. Weird, because I think they are going to draft a cornerback early, but it's going to be on a cheap contract, and that's how you could probably justify it. But last year, Jalen Ramsey had the 2nd best run defense grade of any corner that was a full-time starter. Like, he's an awesome run defender. And this is what we talked about in Matt Eberflus's defense, is you want these corners that can come up and tackle and help you in the run game. And I do think, even at this stage of Jalen Ramsey's career, he's a really, really good tackler. And I do wonder, because Ramsey is such a cerebral player and such a good athlete, if there isn't a chance that he could have a Charles Woodson-like second part of his career, not as a full-time safety, but kind of a hybrid, a guy that plays in the slot, who plays in the box, that you move around a little bit, where maybe he's not having to cover the outside receivers one-on-one. He is only 31, and I think Charles Woodson made that move to safety at about the same age and went on to become a defensive player of the year back in, 2010. I think Ramsey has some value there. But I also wonder if Dallas wants 2 moody cornerbacks and Trayvon Diggs and Jalen Ramsey on the same roster.
Yeah, I mean, again, I do think the locker room part of it is legitimate, right? And I think Trayvon Diggs is a big part of it. Let me talk about the money real quick, because there is another aspect I forgot to kind of mention here, is that you're right. The $27 million, they already paid Diggs, right? And then they want to pay Bland. And the thing that's unique about Bland that we've talked about before is that Bland is one of the few players that if you re-signed him, you actually are paying him more immediately than you would be on these other players. Because everyone else, like Micah Parsons or Dak or CD, like, you're signing them and then actually reducing the cap number that year because you can reduce it all the way down. Right now, Bland is on a rookie deal. So if you sign him, you're immediately giving him a raise and adding to the cap as opposed to taking away from the cap. So that's all a way of saying that makes it even further complicated for how much you're paying cornerbacks if you do this deal.
Here's my prediction, by the way. I don't think the Cowboys go out and get Jalen Ramsey, but I do think he's going to be a good part to probably a contending team. I can see maybe a more veteran team like Baltimore or Kansas City going out and adding him for like basically like on a 1 year rental, 1 or 2 year rental. I wonder if that's just the best strategy involved for all parties going forward. Like, don't make a long-term investment. Just keep renting him 1 year at a time because it kind of keeps everybody on their toes and it doesn't get you into some of these financial problems that like Miami's running into right now.
He's going to become the cornerback version of Ndamukong Suh is what is going to happen basically.
Right.
Right?
Which is
Right.
which is fine.
Which is fine.
Right?
Which is fine. Like a lot of these guys that have very unusual careers, they're unique talents. They're the kind of guys you would expect to have constantly rolling a long-term contracts, but they don't want that. They have like 1-year deals. Maybe they can move around a little bit. This is, I think, what's going to be going forward with Jalen Ramsey probably after the situation.
And we saw this happening with Stephon Gilmore, right? Like
Yeah.
Gilmore signed a bunch of 1-year deals and he's gotten paid and he's played well at all these different stops. I think Gilmore and Ramsey are different players, but I see a similar thing playing out for him as well. All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen of the day. Make sure you check out the show on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.